Today's going to be interesting. I am going to make fresh pasta and fettuccine Alfredo from scratch. I'm going to use the old traditional Italian recipe for Alfredo, which is really, I think it's called Fettuccine Al Burro, donkey's fettuccine, something like that. I'm going to show you how simple it is. Couldn't be any easier. And chicken. So, chicken fettuccine al burro. So, fettuccine Alfredo. So you will see how easy it is for someone like this guy to make something from absolute scratch, because it's actually pretty simple. Chicken, simple. Pasta, simple. Alfredo, simple. Again, I'm not doing the American Alfredo, I'm doing the traditional Italian one. That's what you're gonna see. Ooh. Why is the angle so low? All right, first things first, I'm going to put on an apron. My wife got this for me. All right, there you go. Oh, my back hurts. Whew, old age is tough. So recipes, the ingredients for pasta, super simple. 500 grams of flour, that's what I'm using. You can use whatever you want. The key is 1 egg per 100 grams. And if you're American and you're wondering what a gram is, the rest of the world knows what I'm talking about. I'm doing 500 grams. If I'm using 1 egg per 100 grams, 5 eggs. That I can figure out. Start slowly, make a mound of flour on my counter. Make sure the counter's clean. You don't want to do that after the cat's walked over it. And so you make a mound, make a little well in the middle, and that's where your eggs go. Break your eggs in a bowl. It's just, if you get the eggshell in the dough, it's harder to take out. So just break it in a bowl, pull out any eggshells if you get any. So now that the eggs are in the well, you slowly stir the eggs. And as you're stirring, you're slowly pulling flour from the edges of the well. And you keep doing that. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Slowly go. And eventually your eggs are blended into your flour. And now you just put down your fork and use your bench scraper, and you start folding the flour into the dough. Eventually all your flour is wet and the dough's tough. It's not like bread flour. You keep folding with the bench scraper, and eventually you don't need the bench scraper. All your flour is wet. It's supposed to be tough. So now that the flour is wet, you put your bench scraper away and you use these things. And you start kneading the dough. If you need to learn how to knead dough, it's easy. You press, you stretch, you turn. You press, you stretch, you turn. And you keep turning and stretching the dough. Fold it back on itself each time, and eventually it turns into dough, and the dough you recognize. And you keep doing that for 7 to 9 minutes. Then you let it rest, just like bread dough. So you let it rest for 5 minutes, and you start it again for another 5 minutes. You keep doing that. And then you're done. That's bread dough. Now, that's stupid. That's pasta dough. You wrap it up in nice and tight, and you put it in the fridge until you're ready to make your pasta. That's it. That's how you make dough. Couldn't be any easier. So now that you have your dough out of the fridge, you take it and you cut it into usable chunks. So for me, it'd be about 6 to 7 pieces. You don't want to make them too big. You just have to end up cutting it eventually anyways. So now that you have your piece that's usable, you make it flat. Stretch it down, make it flat-ish, and then you get your attachment. That's what I use. So if you don't have a KitchenAid attachment for pasta, you can get them on Amazon. You can get simple manual ones that you crank if you want to do that, or you can use a rolling pin. I use the attachment because I'm lazy. So you roll it, you roll down your dough until it can fit into the lowest number on your attachment. You turn it on and you go, and you pull it out. You got to make sure that you don't mess it up. It's really hard to mess up though. You do that 3 times, and then you continue to the other pieces. Just keep going, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And then you have these long sheets. And you get your second attachment, your pasta attachment. So I'm using the fettuccine one. You take the long pieces of sheets of pasta, thin pasta that you made, and you roll it through, and bingo, you got fettuccine. Let it dry. 2 ways to let it dry. One is on a rack. If you don't have a rack, make a little nest. It's all right. Both ways work. And there you have it, pasta. Cooking the chicken is the easiest part of this whole thing. You take your chicken, you dry it, and by drying it, I mean you just take it out of whatever container you got it in. So I'm using chicken thighs, just letting you know. Chicken thighs, tastier meat, it's my favorite. Don't tell my girls that, but I love chicken thighs. You take it out of whatever bag you had it in, you drain it, don't wash it, not necessary. You get rid of a lot of the flavor when you wash it. Then you put it on a sheet and with some paper towel, you pat it dry, and then you put it in the fridge. And that will dry your chicken. I don't know what drying does. I think it lets the water evaporate, which allows the flavor to stay. I'm not sure if that's true. That's what this guy believes. So I'm claiming it to be true. Once that's done, take it out of the fridge, salt and pepper it, stick it in the oven for 2 hours at 300. Sounds about right. And so that's your chicken. So make sure that when you take your chicken out, your pasta water's boiling, because everything's going to happen really, really fast right now. And basically, when you are finished doing this part, you got to serve it, or else it turns into a big clump. So move fast. So by the time you take out the chicken, your pasta water should be boiling. When the water's boiling, salt it. And when I say salt it, do what other people say, salt it so that it tastes like the Mediterranean Sea. Just assume that the Italians know what they're doing. This is how things work. Don't second guess it. Don't add olive oil. Don't add anything. Just lots and lots of salt. It's about 10 grams of salt or 2 teaspoons of salt per liter of water. Liter's about 4 cups. I'm sure you can tell by the size of your pot how many liters go into it. Typically it's, 5, 6. Just add a lot of salt. Make it really, really salty. Okay, because you're not adding any more salt to your sauce. You're not adding salt to your sauce. You're not adding salt to the pasta. You're not adding any more salt. All the salt will come from the flavor of this water. It needs to be salty. When you put the pasta in, you got to keep stirring it. Remember, this is fresh pasta. Just keep stirring it. Slowly, gentle. Don't bother throwing it against the wall. That doesn't work. It's stupid. Cooking fresh fettuccine should take about 3 to 4 minutes. The best way to know, take out a piece, taste it. You'll know. It should be al dente, which means to the tooth. It just means that it still feels like it has a tiny bit more cooking left to do, but the cooking's going to be done as it's waiting and mixing in with the sauce. So al dente. In a medium saucepan, right next to it, you're going to prepare the butter and the cheese. That's it, butter, cheese. In medium saucepan right next to it, you're just going to add a 1/4 cup of butter, so about half of the butter that you have for this whole recipe, 1/2 cup of Parmesan, again, a half of the total Parmesan you're going to need, and a half a ladle of water from your pasta. You continue mixing until it's completely blended, and that's the start. Once all the butter's melted and cheese melted, you add in the pasta. Straight up, just add it in. It's okay if it's a little wet. Just take it, put it in. You add another half ladle of water from your pasta water, the remaining butter, and Parmesan. And you just gently stir until everything's melted, turns into a nice cream. If necessary, if it seems a little too thick, just add a bit more pasta water. Don't cook for too long, don't wait too long, no more than a minute, or else you'll overcook your pasta. It'll be nasty. Put it on a plate, put a little bit of fresh Parmesan on top, and black pepper, no salt. Remember, no salt. Take your chicken, slice it up, put it on top, and there you have it. Chicken thighs with Fettuccine Al Burro, also known as Fettuccine Alfredo, traditional style. That's it. That's how you make it. Simple.